2022 Lexus LC 500 convertible at $106,045. This is no doubt one of the best vehicles on the market in this segment, and it's no doubt the best Lexus of all time. Don't take my word for it, the Dolphins even think that as well. Since I just reviewed this car last year, I'm not going to do a traditional review. Instead, I'm going to be answering your questions on the LC 500 convertible while I'm having the time of my life. I promise I'll get your questions, guys, here quickly, but it wouldn't be a proper review or of the sorts if I didn't give you an excellent walk around of this vehicle. There's not much to say about it other than it is just jaw-dropping gorgeous from every single angle. The large 21-inch wheels with the huge brakes on the inside. The gorgeously designed triple beam headlights with the Lexus motif daytime running light. We have a spindle grille, of course, which looks right at home and is perfectly designed on this vehicle. This has atomic silver paint color. It wouldn't be my color of choice for this just insane car. I'd be picking the flare yellow or maybe the infrared. It does go well, I think, with this toasted caramel interior, which is just absolutely stunning. This is a $100,000 Lexus, and this interior looks like it's pulled out of a Bentley or maybe even an Aston Martin. Well done, Lexus. Now let's get to driving it. 5-liter V8 over 470 horsepower. Yuri from the Straight Pipes wants to see me banging off the Rev Limiter. No problem. So it won't do it in first gear. I just found out you have to be in second gear for the Rev Limiter. And we're just gonna do it again. There's no car on the market quite like the LC for so many different reasons. Like, the interior is just out of this world. The exterior is from another time and space continuum, and the V8 and the V8 exhaust sound on this car is just from a perfect era of vehicles that's coming to an end. Naturally aspirated V8s, good luck in the near future. And rear wheel drive cars, they're becoming less and less of a thing as electrification likes all wheel drive, etc. But we have other questions we need to get into. And thank you, Yuri, for commenting on the channel. It's good to see you on there. Noel is wondering about MPGs. Well, if I do this, I'm not going to get the greatest MPGs, but we got surveyors out here, so I'm going to somewhat respect them. Anyways, that holds its value also really well. There's on cars.com, I'm not sponsored by them, by the way, there's an LC 500 coupe with like over 90,000 miles on it, and it's still asking for a pretty high price. So if you're buying this car, yeah, it's going to hold its value well. They don't make that many of them, and they're pretty highly sought after. It doesn't help that reviews like this make this car just drool worthy for the average person. We're going to use a paddle shift as downshift to pass this guy. It's just too much fun. And I want this car for myself. It is on my American dream list, per se, and I'm sorry if you guys have to deal with a lot of wind noise at this point, but I couldn't hold true to myself and say, hey, I'm gonna do the review with the top up, because the top up is, it takes the specialty out of this car. You might as well be reviewing the coupe version at that point. Mark wants to know if I would pick the coupe or the convertible. The convertible, hands down, especially where I live in South Florida. Like, this is one of the most desirable cars down here, regardless of price, in my opinion, and regardless of class. Like, this thing is just pure happiness when you have the sun out all the time and you have good weather all the time. The coupe is sexy as hell, just like this is, but yeah, give me the drop top, give me that sun-kissed life. Kev wants to know the cruising response. So I'm going about 55 miles an hour. I am in Sport Plus mode still, and go. I don't know what else you want. If you're in normal mode, it's not going to be as responsive. I just put it in normal mode. I'm going about 55 and hammer. It's still pretty damn responsive. So I don't know where you heard that this vehicle is not very responsive. It is a complete rocket at any given moment. Joseph wants to see more night reviews. I don't really do them on the channel. By like 8 o'clock at night, I'm done. Putting the kids to bed, I'm unwinding, and I'm ready to just chill with my wife and watch movies. So night reviews are definitely not in the future, but I should be able to sprinkle in some nighttime lights of the rear and the front for this vehicle and other vehicles in the future if you guys like that. Touch'em Cookie wants to know about comfort. Well, I've driven this car for hours on end. It's a fantastic cruiser. You can take this across the country if you want and still be comfortable. I mean, I'm about 190 pounds. If you're like 220 plus and wide, it might not be comfortable, but try it out. One of your questions, how does it stack up to the competition? Like a 911 convertible would be something that comes to mind, or BMW 8 Series convertible comes to mind to me. I would take this over all of them for a daily driver as well. You ask about that, and this would be a wonderful daily driver if you can accept 25 miles to the gallon at best case scenario, and 15 miles per gallon about worst case scenario. Remember, there's that LC with over 90,000 miles on it and it's still fetching a high price because these things are bulletproof. This V8's bulletproof, and this vehicle feels like it's built from granite. There's one exception to that, and the Mark Levinson sound system, even though it sounds absolutely fantastic, I actually do have some rattling at times, mainly from the subwoofer between the rear seats, but also from the door panels at lower volumes. You crank this thing past 50 volume and all that fades into the background and you don't hear it at all, because this sound system, as all Mark Levs are, they're just so loud and they sound so good when you crank them. Do a U-turn here, put it back into Sport Plus mode and hammer. And the acceleration is one thing, but the ridiculous downshifts are just so satisfying as well. Hard on the brakes. I can't stop accelerating this car. Lime Rush 4Runner is asking about a parking brake, and you might be like looking around. It's not a pedal. It's not in other places where a Lexus would have it. It's actually underneath the start-stop button. So it has an electronic parking brake like pretty much all modern Lexuses besides maybe the GX at this point. Andy's asking if this vehicle turns heads, and I will say yes. Every time I see an LC 500, I can't help but to look. Obviously, I have a little bit more of a trained eye compared to the normal person. But I have seen some people, you know, snap their necks a couple times. Does it look better than an Aston Martin? I think it looks better than a lot of them out there. And I would probably put it on the same class as that sort of vehicle in terms of looks anyways. Afro Techman says, I need one in my life, and I couldn't agree more. This vehicle, to me, there's not that many vehicles that I aspire to own. Like, some come and go. You know, the Miata has always been one of those vehicles that I had before and I aspire to own again. And this vehicle is on that bucket list for me to own one day. There are very few vehicles out there that make me as happy as this vehicle, or even come close to bringing the amount of joy and satisfaction that this vehicle does, from the looks, the interior, and the engine, the exhaust note. It's a complete package. And then you add the convertible factor to this vehicle, and it's just happiness. Bob is wondering if this is going to hit parking stops, and I actually parked this at sushi. Me and my wife went out for a date yesterday, got some sushi. Perfect date car. Every time I get an LC for review, I try to take my wife out because it's like the perfect prom machine, right? Anyways, I went over a parking curb and I still had some clearance. You still have to be careful because they vary in sizes, but the one I went over, I had no issues clearing it. You're also asking about the infotainment, which I have turned off for the review so it's not flickering on the camera. It does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It is wired, but really that's all I need. I do still get that reflective surface off of this. It is possible that they could somehow implement a touchscreen in here like they did in the LS for the 2021 refresh. I just don't see them doing it because it's going to ruin the aesthetics of this car. The LS aesthetics can't hold a candle to just the interior refinement in this car, and they cost about the same. So I'm okay with no touchscreen. I'm okay with the touchpad. because I have Android Auto finally, which they brought, I think, in the 2020 model year refresh or update, because they haven't refreshed this vehicle and I don't think they will refresh it. PH McGee is asking about cargo space. Would I have to make multiple runs to Trader Joe's? And the answer is no. Just like I used to live out of an NA Miata. The trunk is the secondary trunk. You have two other massive trunks in this vehicle, and that is the whole back seat, which people can't fit into anyways. And if you don't have a passenger with you, you have this whole front seat that's holding my camera gear. So you have three trunks in this vehicle, and the real trunk is the least accommodating. So hopefully that answered your question. Alan Green wants to know, how long will Lexus be selling this car? It's hard to say, as they will be fully electric by 2030. Just hold that thought, because I do want to take this around the corner here. This does not have the Tours Unlimited slip on it. I would be spending an extra 5, 6, 7K if I was getting an LC convertible for that Tours Unlimited slip. But yeah, let's just... Okay. How long are they gonna make it? Hopefully till 2030. I hope so. They could easily make this car for 12 years. It provides that niche for them. This is such a perfect car. If you can afford it, I think it's going to stay relevant as long as they can make it. It has plenty of power, it has plenty of grin-inducing sounds. The transmission's perfect. The interior, the exterior is perfect. I already mentioned those things. So Lexus, don't ever kill off this car. I know you want to be fully electric, and kind of the market, I don't know if the market's forcing your hand, definitely governments are, but do everything you can to make this car into production. If you have to refresh it, great. I don't think you need to. It already looks insane. The headlights and taillights are already masterpiece. Don't touch those. You could update maybe the spindle grille a little bit, but really there's not much else you need to do to it. Oh, the exhaust, you could give this some real fat quad-tip exhaust. Give it something, I know it's a lesser quality vehicle, but from the Type S's from Acura with those nice quad tips, if you gave that treatment to this vehicle, there's a lot of sensual thoughts going through my head if you have quad tips on it. But anyways, I think I need to wrap up this video. This vehicle to me is a masterpiece, and everyone who likes Lexus should try to aspire one day to own this vehicle, whether it's 15, 20 years from now. It's going to be reliable. The V8's bulletproof, the transmission's bulletproof. This vehicle feels like a tank, even though it does feel nimble in the turns. It's not going to set any records in terms of acceleration. It's not going to set any records in terms of lap times on a track or anything. But in terms of everyday happiness and just sensations that it gives you, I want to own it. I want to own it so bad. There are very few cars out there, like I said, that can give you this sort of happiness, and I haven't found another car like it other than an MX-5. That's kind of like the little brother to this car in terms of just pure drop top happiness, but this car takes that king position, that pole position, as this is a car like every Japanese car enthusiast should try to own, whether it's a coupe or a convertible. For me, I'm picking convertible because sunny Southwest Florida. Anyways, got into there. Thank you guys so much for your questions. I'll see you guys in the next review. If you enjoyed today's video on the LC500, smash the like button, especially for this. There you go. And subscribe for more Toyota Lexus news and reviews and all Japanese auto news and reviews as well. Catch you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Signing out from my dream car, the LC500 convertible. Peace out.